queen apiary. And today I'm going to do a quick install of some package bees. They're nice Italians from Northern California. And this is the way they ship bees to us for hobbyist beekeepers to get their colonies going. And you can see this is a beautiful, heavy 3-pound box full of bees. They're clustered around the queen. They've got a metal can full of syrup in there for the trip. And the queen is in here in her cage. And I'll show you that in just a second. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take the can out and we're going to start installing the bees. I've prepped my box ahead of time. I've removed a couple of frames to give me a space to dump my bees in there. So I'm going to take my hive tool. I'm going to pry my can of syrup out. I'm going to thump my bees down, get them down into the bottom, and I'm going to remove my queen. She's right here, little cage. This cage, she's running around in there. It's got a cork plug, which you'll have to come back after you hang her for her 3 to 5 day introduction period. You got to remember to remove that cork and release her once she's been accepted. So I'm going to take her, I'm going to put her right here in my pocket where I know she's safe. And then I'm going to go ahead and dump my package of bees into the hive. I'm just going to dump them in that space that I made. Get them all in there. There's always going to be some stragglers. Just set this down in front of the hive. They'll smell the queen and they'll get on in there later. So I'm going to set that right here at the front. Now the next thing I got to do is I got to hang my queen in here and get the rest of my frames in here. So I'm going to go ahead and start putting some of my frames back in. Now this frame was for an older hive that didn't make it over the winter. And so I've got a lot of wax already drawn out of it, and these are going to expand really quickly. But if you're installing in on blank frames, you're really going to need to really heavily feed sugar water. And even if you weren't, I'd tell you to feed anyway. So it's feed, feed, feed. I'm going to put these frames in, and I'm very gently just going to let them settle in on top of the bees. Don't push them down and smush anybody. If you could look in here, you could see they're already climbing up on the frames. So I'm sinking them down in here, creating my room. Alright, so I'm going to hang my queen and get the last of these 2 frames in here. Typically, these little queen cages, they have this metal tab that you kind of bend over the frames, and if you're going to do that, then you always want to hang her up with the screen side facing parallel to the frames. You don't want her facing in the frames like that, because then the bees can't feed her. You always want her with the screen facing one side to the other so they can access her and feed her. Sometimes that can be a little hard, and sometimes these little metal tabs don't always cooperate. So greatest thing since sliced bread are these little plastic queen cage holder. They accommodate a variety of queen cages. This happens to be a California mini, but they'll do the California 3-hole, the Jay-Z Beezies, and even hair roller cages if you need them. And so what I like to do is I like to take the queen cage, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to slide it in here with the screen facing up. Hopefully I'll get it in here without a hitch. We'll see. I want to slide it till it gets all the way till the end stop. There it went. So slide it over till the end stop. Screen is facing up, and this part right here is going to hook over the frame. And then I can come back in 3 to 5 days, and I'm going to take that cork out and release my queen. She does need an acceptance period, so don't skip that part. It's pretty important. All right. So now the trick is I'm going to hang her on one of these center frames. I don't want to hang her directly in the center because I don't want to interfere with the feeder that I'm going to put on. So I'm going to kind of put her off center. I'm I'm going to see if I can get her in here. It's kind of tight. Alright, so I'm going to sink her in there. Try to push her in as much as I can into that wax in there. I'm going to take a little bit of this wax comb off where she's going to be so that her cage will fit a little bit easier in there. If you had blank frames, you wouldn't have to worry about this part, but it'll just make my life a little bit easier, and I'm all about that. So, see if I can't get her situated in there. Alright, so I got her in. She's hanging safely in there. What I like about those queen cage holders is in the spring here in Colorado, it can still be chilly. And that holder allows her to go a little down deeper for the cluster to keep her warm so that she's not sitting up on top of the frames where she could get chilled. So that's one of the things that I like about them. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and set my pollen patty on here. I like to cut my pollen patties in half. When they're together, they're about a pound here, so I usually cut them in half. I'll put one half in the freezer or on another hive, and I took my hive tool, cut a couple of spores in it so that it make the easier for the bees to access it. I'm going to just kind of put it right here off to the side for the bees. Then I'm going to take my inner cover, and on this particular one I've got a deep side and a shallow side because I got my pollen patty in there. I'm going to go ahead and pull it deep side down so I don't have any gaps in there. And then I'm going to set my feeder up. This is my sugar water feeder right here. It holds about 1 gallon of syrup. I like to only fill it up about 3/4 way so it's not sloshing around or anything like that. And so just fill it up till you have about a thumb's width from the top ought to do ya. This is a very important piece of it. This helps prevent the bees to drown. You're always going to get a couple of knuckleheads that are going to drown anyway, but you want to set the hull of that feeder right over the hole in your inner cover, and then go ahead and fill your syrup up to the line. And you can use the lid on these. It's optional. Some people do, some people don't. It's just totally up to you. You can use the lid on it if you want. And then what you're going to do to protect your feeder from getting blown around is you're going to either take an empty box or a medium box, and you're going to set it over as a shell, just like that. And then over that, you're going to take your telescoping lid, and you're going to set that over the whole thing. And you just set up an internal feeder, installed your bees, hung your queen, make sure your reducer's to the lowest hole. And that's as easy as it is, folks. It's not hard. Don't be intimidated. Thank you very much from Rocky Mountain Bee Supply, and happy beekeeping. We'll see you real soon.